What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Al. I am the owner of the Underdog Dynasty Kennel, and I am the founder of the Behind the Breeding podcast. Today, we have a very, very, very special guest. Our special guests today have made a significant impact in the American Bully community. In the short amount of time that they've been here, they have produced multiple show quality dogs and foundational pillars to programs with both their males and females. They have produced up to date 4 grand champions and 6 champions, with that number soon to climb up in the most competitive classes the American Bully has. They have reached the pinnacle of heights in the American Bully community 5 times by winning the prestigious title of Best of Breed and Best in Show at a Nationals event amongst multiple registries. Their dogs have racked up multiple champion, grand champion, Best of Breed, and Best in Show wins. Did I mention they achieved all of this very fast in a short amount of time that they've been in the community? They have produced dogs the likes of Infinity, Gabriella, Messenger, Paradise, Destiny, Genesis, Grand Champion, Madden, the baddest dog who has graced American Bully breed, triple national winner, Grand Champion Samson. They're great people, mentors, and most importantly, warriors of God. Everyone watching at home, please give a warm welcome to our guest today, Margaret Tamara Wagner, the owners of Warriors of God's Bullies. What's going on, you guys? What's going on?
Hey.
How are you?
Very good.
You're my favorite person now. No. Thank you for the nice intro. That was really nice of you. Thank you.
You know, like I said previously, and I told you guys, my goal with this podcast is to really provide some professional-esque type of content where the breeders, their accomplishments are known, the dogs are known, and we really put the face behind these dogs. And what better way, to have you guys on this platform who are the producers of, I mean, in my opinion, the greatest American Bully that has ever graced the American Bully community. I'm not gonna lie to you, and it's an honor, it's a privilege to be able to be here, and I can't express to you how grateful and humble I am that you guys decided to come on this podcast and talk about the breeding that produced Samson. And what's going on, guys? How's everything?
Hey, good. And we share your opinion. we kind of dig them too. So
that's
awesome. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, so first up, we got to lay the foundation, all right?
All right.
So what made you choose the American Bully breed as the breed that you wanted to breed?
Well, it's derived from the pit bull and Amstaff, and we had pit bulls previously. So after we, our pit bulls, our loving pit bulls died, rest in peace. We decided we were looking at, we just came across the American Bully when we were looking for a new dog. So it really caught our eye, the look of it, the stockiness of it. We just pretty much liked the look. So that's what kind of got us going down that road. And then, from there, you do your research and we just said, yeah, let's go. Let's do this.
So my question to you next, right? Did anybody introduce you to the breed? Because I know for me personally, I can only speak from my own personal experiences, is that, when I got into it, I didn't really have like someone just, hey, listen, this is the type of dog you're looking for, yada, yada, yada. It kind of just was like, hey, that dog looks cool, and that's where I'm going. And instead of like someone like, hey, maybe I know you love dogs. What you should think about maybe getting into this breed. These dogs are awesome. Like, how did that work out for you?
No, it was the same as you. We just seen it. No one said anything about it. Just seen it, and then we're like, "What's that?" Oh, American Bully. I kind of like that look. And to be honest with you, I was kind of like, okay, I'm not quite sure. Like, I know the pit bull is amazing, but the word bully, I was like, are they mean? That would sound so stupid. Oh God, what a closed-minded mindset, but whatever. So anyways, I laugh about that. But no, we just seen them online, and you love the look.
You were that way with the pit bull at first too.
Yeah. When my son brought home our first pit bull, I was like, are you nuts? All the things you hear, and then then they change your mind forever. So no, to answer your question, no, we were like you. We just seen the dog, on the internet, and so then we started checking out, American Bullies for sale.
Nice.
Nobody was at that time. We were running a high-end business that was, very demanding. So, we didn't, have, like, we were just busy, and at night I would just kind of scroll on my Facebook, through the internet and stuff, and so we weren't like in tune with a lot of people, and we definitely weren't in tune with anybody associated with pit bulls, American bullies, Staffordshire Terriers, the show ring, none of that. So
That was
it
all
was just
new.
basically in our mindset for a pet.
And you know what's crazy is like when I first got my dogs and I had got ghosts and I was introduced to this setting, it's like holy smokes, like there's a lot going on. Not only just between the shows, but there's different classes, there's different heights, there's different phenotypes,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, you because you get in, especially when you're newer, and this is the goal of this podcast, right? Is people think like me when especially when you're new, like, oh, if we feed our dog more, they could look like this. And that then you realize that, hey,
That's
genetics
genetics.
come into play, genetics come into play, bloodlines come into play.
Hmm.
What are we looking for and what type of dog are we trying to get into, and I think this podcast is very beneficial for people that are newer coming in. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
um
well, here's the thing. When you're first getting into it, I can speak, well, I'm speaking from my experience. And I would imagine it'd be the same for any new breeder, but when you're first getting into it, you're not thinking about all of those things. You don't know about all of those things. You're
oh
uneducated, so you're not thinking about conformation too much per se. You're not thinking about even different classes of the American bully. You're not thinking as much. Yeah, you might in the back of your head be thinking bloodlines or, genetics and things like that, but you don't know the intricate, facets of them. You know what I mean? Just the kind of the whole of it. There's bloodlines out there. When we got into it, we didn't know what Dax line was. We didn't know anything. We didn't know, period. So I never knock a new breeder when they're coming in. I feel education is key, and compassion when we're educating is key. Now if I hate to bring the bad with the good, but if you've got someone that's cocky and doesn't want to learn, that's a different ball game.
Mhm.
Then the compassion kind of just goes out the door, and you just say, hey, you just kind of don't want to listen. But if there's someone out there that truly is genuinely not understanding, then you just like, let's say fast forward if they're into it a little bit, and they're not understanding, and they're seeing faults in dogs, then you compassionately explain it to them, and let them know, like, hey, like what I try to do is I tell people, once you understand conformation, you can't unsee it as much as you would like to.
Absolutely.
Once you focus on it, you can't unsee that. It's there. And so that's the key to good education, because people will come back to me and say, oh my God, ever since you mentioned that, you're right. Like, that's what I see. And, and so, I don't know where I was going with this, but, yeah.
Don't
So
worry
in the
about it.
new breeder, the new breeder, like we don't understand a lot of things when we're coming into it. And that comes with time, education, on the job training, I guess, right?
A- Absolutely. There's nothing better than sometimes just being thrown into the fire because sometimes that's the only way you're gonna learn, and
Oh, and
trust
in the fire we went with Samson.
me. Hey, you
Like,
you you went out with the blades of glory, I'll tell you that much.
we never in a million years thought that we would, be thrown into the fire like that with such an incredible dog right off the bat.
Right.
And when that happens, and you don't know all the fundamentals of everything, like we just spoke of, like the conformation, you're green. You don't know the conformation. You don't know the different class in the show ring. You don't know the people. You don't know how the industry works. There's so much to learn
It's a
throughout
lot.
the years. And usually, as you're learning all of those things, you're growing with a better dog. But it was different. It was the opposite for us. It was like, here we are with this, magnificent dog. And so it was kind of like catch me if you can and learn as fast as you can. You
Okay,
Ed
I
kind of
got
warned
you.
us, though.
know? So it was a wild ride.
Trust me, I
But
know.
hey,
I was
From the beginning
Samson.
to start like that is man, that's a blessing, but that's a lot because
there's a lot
you
to take
it's a
in.
it's a lot to digest. So
Hmm.
when you got in, right, you got into the American Bully, right? Was there a certain point where you started saying, well, you know what, we like these dogs, and did you really start going like, you know what bloodlines are throwing specific traits that we want with our dogs? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What was that like for you? How long did it take you before you started saying, you know what? I like this type of dog. I like this bloodline. I like these traits. And what made you decide to say, okay, we want to build utilizing that blood?
There's different facets to things. So, like, you could have a dog. Let's say you're starting out with a dog that is not quite what you're looking for. Okay, then you're going to gear towards other people's bloodlines and bring them in to kind of mold and recreate what you have. Right?
Yes, man.
We're a little bit different in our scenario because of what we just talked about. I mean,
Yeah.
Samson, I mean, look at him. Okay, so we were blessed enough to start out with a dog that was like insanely credible.
Yeah.
Now what we didn't even know after outside of his looks what was going to happen. I mean, which was even the next chapter of, you know, amazing. But as far as that part, we knew we liked what we saw. We knew we had something amazing. And so what we did, we just stayed with that look. And when you want to stay with your look, what do? You go back to that look. You
Absolutely.
keep that look with the same type in other dogs, in other bloodlines. So or you know, in other people's blood. But so you're going to take. So what we did was we went back to Ed and Stephanie's yard,
Mm-hmm.
brought more in, right?
Yes, sir.
And then worked with that. And then from there, we proceeded, I should say, in our way of what we wanted for the American Bully with our yard. And what that was the standard, plain and simple. Um, we should all be breeding towards the standard, and it's that simple. There is
Absolutely.
no vision. I know I hear it all the time. I even say it, but in my mind, mentally, I'm like, that doesn't exist. Our own visions don't exist. The standard is what exists,
Absolutely.
and we're supposed to breed to the standard. Every dog, our goal as breeders together, in unity, is to create an American Bully that doesn't look like individual yards,
Yes.
an American Bully that looks the same. You know, like when you put Doberman Pinschers into the AKC lineup, you don't you're splitting hairs. They all look exactly the same.
Yup.
So that should be our vision. And I understand. I'm not knocking the word vision. I don't want anybody to take that wrong, but our vision should be the standard. So going back to what the question you're asking is, we just kind of, we knew that we had a, something very, very close to the vision, the standard of the American Bully, and we just wanted to go forward with that look because we knew we kind of nailed it right off the bat. So our goal was to improve the structure of the dog while maintaining the standard, the look of the dog, because we had, the look is there. Samson and his offspring right off the bat have the look of an American Bully, not the look of a bulldog, not the look of another breed, the look of American Bully. And it kind of sets him apart in a lot of ways, because we had that jump start. It sets him apart. We had that jump start with that, which was, God, the golden ticket. I mean, we just got the golden ticket right out the bat. And now, with that said, I'm going to express that when we got Samson, we didn't have the mindset or the attitude that, hey, we are somebody because we've got this dog.
Mm-hmm.
This was a dog that came out of the gate, like I said, in many ways we had to catch up with him. We had to catch up with the excitement of him learning, right? But in our own hearts, we said to ourselves, we know what we have. We're proud about what we produced. We did that. We understand that. But with that said, that doesn't make us a breeder. That doesn't make us, that doesn't, it doesn't give us that instant respect. What gives you respect is when you take a good dog and you continue with it and you breed
Absolutely.
it forward and you utilize what you have and you keep making it better, because we know that we can always improve. I don't care what the dog looks like, right? We can always improve. So our goal was to move forward and prove that we could continue to do this, and not only continue to produce more dogs like Samson, but better dogs.
Absolutely.
Refine it
We've
as
only
much as we can.
we've only really been breeding the last couple of years.
Yeah, in the beginning we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't breed
We didn't
much.
breed too much in the beginning. It was kind of laughable because people would be like, "I mean, I would have bred that dog 100 times by now." But we
Yeah.
didn't. We were busy with our business, our other
We
business,
still
and
haven't bred Samson that much.
yeah, we just. I think I made I did not think. I made a post just recently because someone said this isn't a race, and I'm like, yeah. Do you remember the tortoise one? This is about quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
Although you'll see us breeding now a little bit more stronger, because we have been lackadaisical and some of our girls are getting a little older in age, and it's like, okay, we need to pump up the volume here, get some of these breedings knocked out so we can
Absolutely.
move forward. Because what we did in the beginning was we set up all these different strands, a couple of different strands that we wanted to work with, because when you're breeding, you don't breed for right now.
Yeah.
You're breeding for years from now. When I'm
Absolutely.
doing this right here, so in 4 years from now, I'm setting up what I want to do 4 years from now.
Yep.
So not just breeding to a stud per se, but breedings that create offspring that's going to match up with the offspring that you're creating next year and the
Yes.
year after. And so you're setting up these different strands, so then later on you can put these strands together and continue, hopefully continue your work in a
Absolutely.
in, in a progressive way.
100%. I love that. So, my question to you is, did you have a mentor coming into this that was able to help you and guide you early on with, listen, you get a dog from this, it could throw this? Because in order for us to really start us successful, I feel like every person needs a great mentor in their camp. For me, I've been very open about this. I had Dan Bruni, who was extremely knowledgeable, and he really, like, between the conversations that him and I had, it sped up my process so fast that I was able to start seeing dogs in a way different light. And then we started studying, pedigrees. And then now, as I'm becoming more knowledgeable on the pedigrees and the dogs, now I'm starting to look at them in a completely different lens. And
Yes,
did you
the
have,
mentor will do that for you. A good
yeah,
mentor will do that for you.
did,
Yeah.
did, did you have that in your camp?
No, we did not have a mentor in the beginning. And when I say beginning, I mean very, very beginning. Now, when Samson became about 6 months old, we did get a mentor, that extremely good mentor. So in the beginning, yes, but not in the beginning, like
Yes,
that part of the beginning of the creation of Samson and whatnot. I'm just going to throw that all on God because that was his deal.
absolutely.
He knows who I am. He knows what kind of heart I have, and so he's utilized me in many ways, for good and bad, but many ways. So, and I'm okay with that. Whatever. I'm just here for. I'm no matter what we've done in our lifetime. It's always been whatever path God wants to bring us down. We're that's where we want to go. So right
Amen.
now it's American Bullies. Okay, so here we are, but So in the beginning, no, we just kind of did our breeding. We ended up with Samson. We got to meet Ed and Stephanie. Then around 6 months, 8 months is when we met a very good mentor of ours, Richard Barty. And he taught us. He's almost criminalistic when it comes to pedigrees. I can break down and break into a bloodline like you ain't never seen. No, but he's just as like, he knows what he's talking about. Now, do we ever really like get that intense in certain bloodlines? No, because to me, I'm not going to go a place where it's not necessary. So in other
Absolutely.
words, if I'm not there yet, and remember, we were on the fast pace,
Mm-hmm.
of learning so many things. So you can only put so much on your plate. So he would break down the fundamentals. He was a very good mentor because he would only break down or do what he needed to do at the time that we needed it, if that makes any sense. That's what I'm trying to
Absolutely.
explain.
Yeah, that makes
You
perfect
know,
sense.
so there's no point in going, let's say if you're not breeding for color, well, there's no point in learning all about color when you need to learn about conformation, if that
Yeah,
makes any sense. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, very good mentor. He explained a lot of just the basic fundamentals, and good for him because we're very good learners. So we make a great pair. Great. I
That
mean, because you have to remember, because now we mentor people.
hmm
I feel blessed enough to be able to have enough knowledge to mentor. It's basically just relationships and expressing and helping each other guide, taking someone new and let's guide you down this road. Walk with me. That's all it is. Um,
absolutely.
so, with that said, the reason I said that was because the mentee, the person learning, has to be able to absorb what you're saying to them. And
Absolutely.
if they are too, if they're not willing to learn, if they don't have the willingness to learn, then there's only so much you can do with that person as a mentor. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, that's why I say, I'm sure that he is happy that we were, open-minded, quick learners, and very successful, because
That that's
that
awesome.
says a lot for him too, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. So, going back to what you just said, right? The common saying is you could bring the horse to the water, but you can't force the horse to drink the water. And I
Yeah,
feel like that happens a lot in the community. In my opinion, I believe it does. It happens a lot. And sometimes, we're trying to push the breed forward, we're trying to help out, but some people just stay grounded with their own thing, and
yeah.
sometimes it just is what it is. But
Well, I think sometimes the ambition overwhelms them, and instead of
100%.
focusing, instead of saying, okay, I understand what I have right here, I have a good mentor, what they tend to do is they want to absorb things from all different avenues, and
Yeah.
then it becomes confusing to them because you have differences of opinions, which good mentors, you shouldn't, it should all connect. You should be
Yes.
hearing the same. If you got good mentors and if you're
One
going to
thousand
different people,
percent.
yeah, it should
1000%.
connect. It should all be pretty much one. Yeah, a little variation here and there, on how you do things. There's always going to be variations. And I tell people that all the time. Anybody I give advice to, I always tell them, you're never going to offend me by doing it your own way unless it's really out of the ballpark weird and you're not, like, for instance, if I tell you, a stiff rear and, here's X, Y, and Z, you need to, like, you know, to correct, and you're still breeding a bad rear to a bad rear. Okay, you're not hearing me. That's a different ball game,
Yes.
but uh, you can you can take 3 different roads. Let's say you want to go from North Carolina to California. You can take several different roads, several different avenues to get there, but you're still going to end up in California.
Yes.
So, as long as you're taking just minor variations, it's a different ball game. But when you got someone who doesn't want to, I guess what I'm trying to say is you should try to stick to very few people and lean on your understanding of them. So in other words, if it makes sense to you, first of all, you have to have the knowledge.
You have to
And
learn
if
how to
that
breed.
knowledge, and if you're smart, and if it makes sense to you what they're saying, then okay, you should know what you have in that mentor, whether it's
A-
1, 2, or 3 of them.
Absolutely. So there came a point in time where you were able to connect with Ed Shepard and speak with him. Obviously, we all know him as, an icon for the American bully community. How was that? How did that come about for you guys? Like, how were you able to get in conversation with him and make it all come forefront and establish that type of a relationship with him?
It wasn't hard.
Yeah, it wasn't hard at all. It was just a natural,
He's a
sometimes,
very easygoing guy.
yeah, he's very easygoing, and
Christian
some
man.
relationships just come natural. We had called him. Like I said, we didn't know anything. We just were like, okay, I think we should do X, Y, and Z. We kind of studied a little. I shouldn't say we didn't know anything, because we did study. It wasn't like we were like just, oh, let's slap some dogs together. We did, study a little bit. And I seen Dax. And what I mean by not knowing anything, we didn't know he was deceased. And he's like, that dog's not available. I found him through the internet. We didn't, now mind you, at this time, we didn't have Facebook friends. I didn't know that there was even groups out there. I didn't know that
Instagram,
there
none
was
of that.
nothing. So we're online looking for, a stud, like, through the internet. And Dax came up, and or did we? No, we seen it in the pedigree, and then we looked for Dax. Maybe
Yeah,
that's how it happened.
we
So,
studied
anyways,
our
we
pedigree.
went searching for him, and he said, yeah, he was very easygoing, very humble. Explained his dogs to us, the ones that he had available, and we kind of just went from there. There are so many signs that this is a God thing. Samson was a God thing,
Absolutely.
because in the beginning, and I mean, I'm smart enough to know this without even being told, that breeding for color is not a thing. This is just not something you do.
1,000% the truth. That's
But I
1,000.
will say that Santino was the color of our pit bull that we had for 13 years. She was a very precious girl. And it was between Baccarat and Santino. Now, when
That's
I
awesome.
say color, it's not really that big of a difference. It wasn't like I was saying, okay, I'm going to pick the way lesser dog because of the color. They were very compatible.
Yeah,
So because of my heartstrings, I went to Santino.
that's awesome.
That's literally how I chose Santino. But it
That
wasn't like totally dysfunctional or irresponsible, because they were both very nice dogs.
yes.
And, now the results I got, like I said, we will always give that to God.
Well,
Every avenue of everything we
amen.
did in the
And,
beginning.
it's crazy you actually had answered that, because I was gonna ask you about that a little bit later, like right after, like what was your stud choice? Like, how did you go about selecting Santino? Like, was there another one? I think it's amazing that the way that just flew, the way it came out, that's awesome, because those are the types of things that, especially in the community, when we're looking at certain studs to pair with females, we're looking for certain things. Like, I can't speak for no one else. I can speak for myself. Coming in, obviously, once I got a hold of the type of information that I was looking for, and I decided to want to breed, I said, you know what, man, which dogs do I love? Which dogs do I know throw the type of traits that I desire? And what do their females bring to the table? Because for me
Exactly.
personally, listen, you could breed a badass stud. You could get an amazing male. But my goal with my program is, if I can improve every generation of my females, I already know the males are going to be really, really, really good. But if I can improve on my females, that's, for me, that was most important. And it's crazy, right? Speaking about Samson and stuff, I could tell you guys this right now: if Dan does not breed Layla to Samson, I was going to reach out to you guys to use Samson right after, because I love that dog, and I knew, because I saw some of the females and productions that he had through, that I was like, this, I needed that. And when I talk about the behind the breeding aspect and being able to use things for like intent, I knew the type of females, and I knew what they brought to the table, and I love their energy, their confidence.
Right.
That's
The
what I
female matters. Like, it's
Yes,
a huge thing.
absolutely.
We can. we can prop up a stud all we want and give him props as so deserved. But the female really matters. There's very few studs out there that can just, bring you, success like on a high average, no matter what he's taken
Absolutely.
to. And I will say Samson is one of those dogs.
Absolutely.
Because I
Absolutely.
know, like, I know the breedings that are brought to Samson. I know the breedings that I approve, and I was very lucky to be able to have a dog where I didn't have to say, is he going to make my dog look good, or is she going to make my dog look good? I didn't need to worry about that, as long as it wasn't a train wreck and as long as it wasn't an exotic. And forgive me, it's not nothing to do with exotics. It's just that Samson's not an exotic, so we weren't bringing exotics in.
Yes.
Or
So,
Merle.
or Merles, it doesn't have, we don't, no condemnation on what people are doing out there. It's just what we wanted for Samson. But here's the thing, the female really matters. And even with Samson, that dictates puppies, the outcome.
Absolutely.
So even though you could take, Samson can go to some of these, and I hate to use the word subpar, but more a little subpar. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like a
Yes.
lot of people say, well, why would you do X, Y, and Z? Well, you have to think bigger than the fact of that's not a really nice girl. You have to say to yourself, yeah, maybe we're sitting here with, better dogs or even exceptional dogs, but that's not the world for everybody. That's
Absolutely.
not the reality that everybody has. They got a girl and they're just trying to improve on what they have. Like all of us. It's
Mm,
just on a different level. So
absolutely.
when you're looking at these girls, as long as they're not train wrecks, all you want to do with your program is move it forward. So with that said, that's where, I feel Samson comes into play, because I've seen some breedings where I'm just like, oh, let's see what happens. And man, it's like, oh my God, wow. I mean, I've had
Yeah.
breeders come to me years later and say, Tammy, you know what? You took a chance on me and my girl, because she wasn't all that hot. And I'm going to tell you right now, my yard's filled with champions, like years, we're talking years later, because he
Yeah.
bred correctly. He took what he had, he utilized Samson to the best of his ability, and then he took those puppies and he utilized them and moved forward with it. And that's what it's all about, you know. So, it comes straight from the horse's mouth, with some of these breeders that don't have as nice of females, and it just fills my heart with joy to hear that they went from here to here, and Samson was a part of that.
I love that. I love that. I
Yeah,
love that because Samson. He is, like I said, in my opinion, he is a one of one. With all the traits that he demonstrates, his ability to produce. I've seen it physically. Obviously, I own one of his daughters, but I've seen it with Kingston, produced by Heart and Soul Bullies. And when I saw that, it solidified to me that Samson, he is the real deal. It's the real deal because of the
he
traits
really
that
is.
and the thing
Mhm.
is, it's like you got to understand for coming from my perspective, we have two different females. Obviously, Layla has more blood that's in common with Sam. You going back to their older roots, and then you have a completely outsourced dog. And when you look at the productions up front and you see the traits, the two
Right.
different
That
bloods.
all does come into play too.
Yeah.
I don't want it to sound like that's
Yes.
all disregarded. You're right. You're
Yeah.
one very good point.
to,
Yes.
to, to for him to be able to throw that is when it solidified to me Samson is undoubtedly one of the best, if not the best, American bully to grace the community because it's not about obviously we have these thoughts on dogs, right? Obviously you can have a badass dog that has the traits, has the confirmation, everything that you desire, right? But
Hmm.
in order for you to tap into the elite territory, can you produce? And now that's a different ball game because if you can produce with dogs that have similar blood and you could throw your traits, cool. Now, can you also throw with blood that's completely different, outsourced? And now are you throwing your traits? And
Right.
once you're throwing your traits, now that puts you in a very elite territory because now this is a dog you could base your program around. And when you get to
Right.
that point where now you have a dog that you could build a program around, that's when you get into the elite of the elite, in my opinion. And for certain, that Samson is for he's the real deal. And man, what a badass
Yeah.
boy.
Because like you said, you've got a dog that, this is all about stats.
Mhm.
You've got a dog that when you put a pedigree together, okay, you did all that and you did your homework and everything, and he comes to the table and he does what he does. He did his job as a stud, okay. But when you've got a dog, you have a good female, and I'm trying to explain a good pairing, like I don't say not a good pairing, but a well thought out pairing. Like I got this really nice girl and now the real nice dog. And even then, sometimes, it ain't going to happen. But so even though it's methodically thought out, okay, so there's your stats on that. Okay, so now let's take the stats on the dog. He just seems to, he pushes his genetics in almost anything. It's what I've witnessed is remarkable. He can
Yeah.
take a scatterbred girl and work some amazing stuff. I feel when the dog is when the dog is just slightly line bred, obviously he's going to be able to do more of his business.
Yes.
A tightly line bred dog, if you tightly line breed a dog or take an inbred dog out to a stud and he can still throw himself and push through that brick wall,
Yeah.
you really have something.
Yes, you
And he does that.
yes, you do.
So, the stats, like you said, the percentages as you go along these different avenues of the types of breedings you're doing, it really starts to solidify the importance of a particular dog and his bloodline. Because when that you not only have something that he threw onto those puppies, but more than likely you have something that's going to throw on for generations. And that's what I've seen. He takes it to the next generation. And that's what Dax did. See, that's what Ed Shepard set up, and so we just followed suit with what we did and what we're doing now in our facility over here.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a show dog. Okay, you like as all of the things that you put on your plate, if you can keep putting things on your plate with a specific dog, it becomes more and more and more elite, like you said. So you have
Mm-hmm.
a show dog, okay? So now you have a national winner, okay? So now you have a national winner that can compete into three different registries. So now he's a triple, right? And three
Yep.
different registries. So
Yep.
it's across the board. It's like kind of wherever you go, this dog is winning.
Yeah.
So now you have a dog that is completely sound because his hips have been tested, his heart is eco, it's not just through here, it's leads are on the dog, no heart murmur, no heart defects, no, genetics for that dog. Now you're moving forward with a very healthy dog, a very conformational dog.
Yep.
Now, for that dog to be able to do what he does is insane because not only is he pushing his look and his type, but he's also pushing the mass and not only the mass, but he's pushing the conformation.
Yep.
So we're creating more show dogs. We're pushing the limits, not the limits, but we're opening things up, the doors up for more show dogs, for more for the breed, the betterment of the breed. So he's the perfect dog for everything you're looking for. If you don't utilize them, I
Absolutely.
don't know. It's it's baffling.
It really is.
But that's just
But
me. That's just my take because that's my inside look on the dog. I see him. I know my stats on the dog. I know, and if you study Samson, you'll know what he does.
absolutely. That's why anytime I looked at any Samson offspring, that it kind of made it solidified because you can already see the traits he throws 1000%. And I definitely love the fact that when people have line bred on him or inbred on him, that these dogs have gotten better. It's I will
Oh
tell you
my
this.
gosh, I didn't see. I didn't. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I didn't even. That's a massive point right there. That's a
Yeah.
huge point right there because I didn't even. Now that's the next. Like, we just keep adding. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's brilliant. And how do you not look up and say, well, but you're right. Um, to for him to be able to get so tight and still create some serious conformation it's crazy.
it's it's crazy. You know what? I'll tell you this, right? And this is my opinion on it because obviously I'm a man of faith. But anything that suggests that, hey, science says that this is extremely unlikely, hey, you're not going to have this, you're not going to have that, and at face value, if you're trying to make sense as to why Samson is throwing his look, because when you think about it, you think about the dogs that have the gaudy foundational traits. Obviously we know that these types of dogs, they have struggled with certain conformational flaws, but they have also um looked badass. But how many of these dogs have been bred on heavily on, and sometimes they go a little bit too far and they go a little bit too, like, maybe they start lacking.
Right.
And with Samson, because that is the common thing with people that look at pedigrees and look at the productions, as we go into time, sometimes the look might pull a certain way, or sometimes, oh, we got to get it outsourced. And when you start talking about with Samson, utilizing similar blood, being how he was bred, as tight as he was bred,
Yes.
behind him for each dog, especially kids, when you line breed and inbreed on it and the dogs get better, he throws compact backs. It's
Hmm.
anything that science says that, oh, it's extremely unlikely. I don't look at it like that. I believe that that was God's blessing upon your life, and I
I
really
agree.
do believe that, because when things are unexplainable through science and genetics, because genetics are, they're way too far. Like, there's a
Oh
bunch of
yeah.
genetics and you don't know how it can pull. But
Yes.
with this one dog that has been the entire package, he has now done what he's done, produced what he has produced, and now you have a dog that he is truly a one of one. He is a dog that you can build an entire program around. And
Yes.
when I see this and I notice this, I'm just like this. Samson really is, in my opinion, that was God's will for you. And now you're impacting lives. And it's crazy because look at how everything turns about. I'm on this journey and I'm building with a Samson daughter. So it's crazy the avenues, the ebbs and flows that life takes you through. But man, it's just, that's my opinion on it. I know people are gonna be like this, yo, man, we're talking about genetics and stuff, and I'm like this, nah, man.
Right. Well, that's
I'm
the thing. Like you said,
you
it
know,
kind of defies.
I'm like, nah, man.
Yeah.
He's too for what he is. I believe he was a dog that at the time when he was born, he was ahead of his time. It was where
Yeah.
the breed was going. But this is the thing, and I try to stress this to people. Samson, even at his age right now, you will bring him out to a show ring, and you will look at him and literally go, "That's the baddest dog in the show."
With all that we just said about Samson, of course, we're talking about all the great attributes. Now, are we saying that this dog is, we're not sitting here and saying that this dog is the only dog to utilize. This dog is like the best dog in the whole wide world, and he's without flaws. We're just describing his great potential, and what the dog can do. And I'll tell you, we're very kind of like laid back as far as our promotion with him. A lot of people don't realize that, a lot of these high profile kennels are they're utilizing Samson's blood, and not just once, but a few times. They're bringing that blood in their yard. They know what they see. They know with the potential. They know how it can take their greatness and hold it, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. Not change it, not, just hold it down, because that's what great kennels are looking for. They're looking to we know we need to outcross eventually.
Yep.
So what we do is we just look for studs that can hold it down for us. and let us continue our work and maybe drive in some confirmation because Samson can do that. I've seen some kennels that they haven't been in the show ring for a while, some really great kennels, and now they're back in the show ring again because they were able to take not a brood stock girl, but somewhat of one, and really produce some magnificent dogs and get them in the show ring because he can throw that onto their blood. In other words, keep it going, I guess. I mean, I've had people come buy one dog, then come buy another dog, and then I've had people buy a puppy and then buy like a tank credit and a Samson credit at the same time. These people are realizing
Awesome.
that hey, if I do X, Y, and Z, then I can set myself up because that's what you're going to do. I can sit here and honestly say, if you lock in Samson, you come back one time, you have yourself a foundation. People can mock me, they can say whatever they want to say. She's crazy, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But I can tell you that's what's going to happen if you breed properly, because that's what happened to us when we went to Ed and Stephanie.
Yes.
That's kind of the fundamentals of it. If you like the genotype, the phenotype, if you like it, you continue with it. If you've got a good program, you like that program, go get some. It doesn't have to be our program. Go get something off of that program. If that's what you're wanting, then that's where you go with it, if that makes any sense. And you line breed off of it, or you go to that yard a couple of times, get it into your yard, and then you make it better and keep that look. If you want whatever look you're going after, that's the look. That's what you need to do. You can't create a look without going to the source to get it. You cannot
Absolutely.
go to like, let's say, and nothing against anybody who's bred to Samson, and I don't ever speak on this because I don't ever want to disregard all the beautiful dogs that are out there. They're off of Samson, and they're very much to be utilized
Yes.
in many ways for line breeding. But the source is the source in any camp. So if you really like that camp, get something from the source, in my opinion. Get the
Absolutely.
source, then line breed off that source if you don't want to go back to that camp, if that makes any sense.
We went back to Ed 3 times.
Yeah. So see, there's a prime example, and then you create your foundation, like you said, and you move forward with it.
Absolutely. So,
Um,
question for you. So now going back to Ed Shepard, right? What were your conversations with Ed Shepard like? Like, can you give us like how did that come about? Like, inside the mind of him, like, what were those questions like, especially with stud choosing, where to go? Did you ask him for any advice on how to construct?
no,
How was
no. Our relationship with Ed was a little bit different. It wasn't as much of a mentorship as it was a friendship.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when we got together, we just talked, like we would talk dog talk, but it wasn't like, hey, this is how you put a pedigree together, or hey, this, bloodline is like. Every now and then certain bloodlines would, certain dogs would come up, like this one clicked with that or whatever, but don't ask me to remember that because that was so many years ago, and for some reason it didn't stick because
Yeah.
maybe because I was still too new to say, hey, I need to like write that down.
He mentored us mostly on how the bully game works.
Yeah, like the show ring, the points of the show ring. When we would be sitting there talking about dogs, like to say we got on the top of the show rings, and I would say, hey, well, how do the points work? Like, because it's kind of confusing to the new person and the classes, and so they would teach us, like, okay, this is how it goes, and why don't you go to a show one day with us, and we'll kind of show you how it goes, and blah blah blah. So it was more just talking, but there were, in these conversations, you'll take home with you things that will always stay with you. I guess,
Yes.
according to the person and what they're wanting to keep out of the conversation. One of the very important things that I can tell you that I remember, which may not be nothing to nobody else, is we were just sitting in the living room one day, and Samson's, laying there, and he looked at me and he goes, hey, do you know, maybe he's seen something in me, and he felt like he needed to reconfirm, I don't know, but it just came up, and he says, hey, because he was a bright guy. He says, hey, when you go into the show ring, do you know you're going to win? And I just was like, no, why do you? And he says, yeah.
So he was very
He was
confident
and he
person.
was a comical guy,
Yeah,
very
Yeah.
confident, very comical, and very knowledgeable. Okay, so that's one ball of wax. But so he's like, yeah, every time. And with that said, he didn't need to say another word to me. I understood it completely. I got the point. And what he conveyed was, and let me convey this to anybody who's watching. When you go into the show ring and you have a dog like Samson or a very nice dog, I'm not talking about the people who think they have something and they don't have it. I'm talking about the people that know they have something. And that's kind of what because he looked at Samson and looked at me. When you walk into the show ring with a brilliant dog, know that you're the winner, no matter what the outcome is. You are a winner.
Absolutely.
Your breeding program is a win. Having that brilliant dog is a win. Now, you might take it that day or you might not take the win that day, but you're a winner. And if you got beat by a better dog. Sometimes we get beat by politics. Okay, yeah, we're going to grumble about it. We're going to be upset about it, and we're going to and be done. 2 days later, it's over with. Who cares? It's mad for the moment. But you have to know that you're a winner, and the outside of that ring sees the potential in that dog. So that
Absolutely.
was huge for me. Just that little tiny nothing conversation. I grasped it. To be confident in what you're doing, to know your worth. There's a lot of things I got out of that conversation. So you can see how you can pull
he'd give you
some really nice things out of
little things here and there, but
just little tidbits,
he
that
didn't
really
give us
fit
no
with us.
secret sauce or anything like that.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? I was gonna go and ask you if you had any stories that no one knew about Ed. You just came out and said it, and that's awesome. So to hear the personality, I
Oh,
also
and
was
then
gonna. And listen, I had to go this route. I had to.
yeah, well, they're
Did
great,
he ever
brilliant
talk to you
people.
guys about Dex?
Yeah, well, they're great,
I
brilliant
have
people.
to. I have to.
Yeah, of course. They're great, brilliant people. It's where we come from. We will never forget where we came from. We will always give props and credit to them for the use of their dogs, their incredible bloodline, what they built. That's what they built. We're not the type of people to just run off and now this is ours and we forgot about you. But here's the thing. It was just a great relationship. We pulled a lot of good things from them. And I'll say it, he called it. Samson was about 6 months old and he called it. Again, another time because we used to go up there and have dinner and whatnot. And because believe it or not, in the beginning, we lived in an area where
We were like
we
7
didn't
hours
know
away.
a lot of people. We didn't have, like here's where to go to do this and here's where to go to do that. So we literally drove like 6-7 hours to get ear crops, to get C-sections, because
Yeah.
that's all we knew in the
Yeah.
beginning, right? So we would then when we go up there, we would visit. And sometimes I would actually just drive down there and we would visit. But anyways, there was this one time he was sitting there and he looked at Samson again and he looks at me and he goes, that Samson's going to be world known, right? And I said, you think so? And he goes, absolutely. And he nailed it. The dog was only 6 months old and he nailed it. He knew.
That's all.
So, and same thing with Richard Barty when he seen Samson.
Yeah, Richard nailed it.
They're looking at a puppy and they nailed it. They knew what they were looking at. So it's pretty incredible to look back at Samson's journey from then till now and look up and say, Ed, you're right. Look at him now. Like,
Yeah.
it was a long process because we didn't push the dog in a breeding way as fast as he could have been pushed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I think it prolonged it, the outcome of his greatness. But the
Yeah.
good breeders, but all the while, I will say the good breeders did recognize it. I had people like Carlton Pratt and, a lot of these really established people, and they're being, lock Samson in, although we weren't, saying, hey, look, this guy, this breeder, seen the worth in our dog. We believe in, just letting them announce when they want to announce. But that, you're talking about big kennel names, have been, like I said, all these years locking in Samson and doubling up on his blood and getting his blood in their yard and utilizing his blood. I'm going to tell you, I'll just say it like this. Almost every big kennel out there, or at least a very high percentage of them, have Samson. And a lot of people don't realize that.
As they should.
As they should. They should know these things. But
As they should.
but
Knowing what
everyone's
he
thinking
is.
that's their little secret, like I just posted up McGregor. That's their little secret dynamite. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I'm doing. We hold on to that until we're ready to expose it. But yeah. So, anyways, he is a great guy. Ed and Stephanie. She's just a doll. She's so sweet. And our time together, before he passed was an incredible friendship, a very fast, hard and heavy friendship. So we're grateful to have gotten to know him, before he passed.
That's awesome. So before we get off of this for the topic of Ed, right? Just one last question, because I know you said that you didn't really engage in too much detail in regards to the dogs, like small dog talk here and there. Did he ever enlighten you for on his vision for the American Bully? Like, did he tell you like Dax is the epitome of it, or was it?
No, he didn't. Like, maybe I should learn from that example. I don't know, but it's kind of like
he loved Dax.
He loved Dax.
He missed him.
He knew what he had, just like we know what we have. This is kind of the first time I've ever really spoken boldly about Samson like this, because I want people. Many people can't really utilize him themselves, but they can utilize all those offsprings out there. If they can utilize him, that's great. But if they can't, we understand that, because of his price point. But like with Ed, same thing with us. He knew what he had. That didn't need to be talked about. He's very confident. He didn't really boast about it, but his confidence made it so he didn't need to. You don't, when you have something nice, that's my thing that I mentor to people all the time. If you know your worth and you know what you have, you don't need to be going all the time boasting about it. It is what it is. And so there wasn't a lot of discussion of, there was discussion on how great he was. Yeah. But it wasn't where he was saying he's the best in the world and to answer your question that way, no.
Gotcha. So, question for you. I got to do this with everyone that I have on this podcast. Who are your favorite Dachshunds? Give me three, no numerical order. Your personal favorite. Just give me three, no numerical order.
God, I hate
Dachshunds.
Yeah, Dachshunds. I hate
Well, most of the good ones we didn't even get to see.
Yeah. So see, I hate these type of questions. You want to know why?
My man for putting you on the spot. I just like to ask.
Because I don't know about Mark, but I can speak for me. I'm not a person who likes to talk about a dog I haven't seen.
Absolutely.
And I haven't seen a lot of them in person.
Gotcha.
So I don't like to.
Well, we have to give Louis V a little credit, but he's in the past.
Let's just go with Louis V, because look at what he did.
Phenomenal dog. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But we never got to see him either.
But I'll just say, there's a lot of Dachshunds out there that are pretty incredible, have done some incredible things.
Phenom was a nice dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phenom was tough. I love Phenom. So we're gonna pivot now, right? So now we're gonna get into the bread and butter of
people are.
Here we go. So we're gonna get into the bread and butter of the Behind the Breeding podcast, right? And it's exclusively we paid the foundation for this topic, right? So we're gonna talk a little bit about that that breeding that produced Samson, Santino to Chunky, right? What made you decide to choose the breeding that you purchased Chunky off of? And was there any other breedings going down at that time that you were looking for something? Like, how did that all come about with you being able to purchase Chunky?
We were like basically looking, like I said, on the online through Craigslist. Oh my God, how
That's
embarrassing.
crazy. Craigslist. You know what? I can't even lie. That's how I used to find some of my DJ gigs I used to do. Hey, listen, you need a DJ? Yeah, go on Craigslist.
So, again, I have to say, the big man upstairs was, leading us down roads that we needed to go down. But so when it came to Chunky, we just seen when I was looking online, there's a kennel that stood out to me. It's
These bullies.
no, well, that's what we found her, but the kennel was oh gosh. Oh, I just had it in my head. Man-made
Gotcha.
kennels.
Gotcha.
I was asking him about,
Right.
the puppies. He even called me and we had a conversation. Why I didn't go that direction, I have no idea, because I guess I wasn't supposed to, because he had some very nice dogs and he was a very nice guy. And I met him years later at Nationals. I was like, oh my God, that's, all these years later. But, and very nice guy. So we just ended up, I guess maybe because this kennel was close to us.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was only like an hour and a half away. And what's so funny that stands out in my head is that when he said you can come look at the puppies, he's like, well, I'll meet you here. And then I'm like, what? Like, why would you take the puppies and meet me in a parking lot? It was weird. And I'm like, looking back, now I completely understand the whole situation. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
not a breeder and I don't know these things. And I'm just like, that's weird. Is he standing on the up and up? Is he going to kill us?
Absolutely.
This little white girl's thoughts, And so anyways, we met with him, and we actually had met at his home, and very nice guy as well at Beast Bullies. And you know what's really ironic? I'm telling you, it's a God thing. It's a God story from the beginning to end. It's a total God thing. If I'm correct, I think he was his only bully breeding.
Yeah, he did Frenchies.
Really?
He was a Frenchie guy, and he did this breeding, and I believe he went back to Frenchies. I don't think he ever did bullies again. If I'm correct, you can research that, but I'm pretty positive because when I went back and researched, I never seen no more bullies on his page.
Wow.
So yeah, and so we went there and we looked at a male and a female. And what kept going through my head, and the reason I chose a female was I was again so stupid. All I could think about was, well, if I get a male and the girls are in heat, he's gonna want to get out of the yard. Oh my God. And so that kept going through my head, and I'm like, a female, male, female. The poor guy, it was like forever before I made my decision, but we decided with Chunky, and there you go. And that was how it happened.
That's great. That's an awesome story. But
That's something
When it
else.
was
Like,
hot as hell.
seriously, you're choosing. Because you have to remember, I wasn't choosing per se in my head for a breeding program. My thoughts first were a pet. And so that's where a lot of my mindset of came from. And so it's kind of funny how it all
then over time we started looking online more and more.
Yeah, and you start, so it was kind of the opposite for us. We looked for a pet, found a pet, and then thought, I mean, I was looking for a pet. Now, don't get me wrong. I was looking for a pet. I told Mark I want a really nice dog in case we want to breed later. Because in my thoughts, because we had this very, like I said, very lucrative business. And in my thoughts, I wanted to get a pet, get an American Bully, educate myself, and then maybe 10 years down the road, then become a breeder, or if we happen to use this pet in 3 or 4 years, maybe that too, I don't know. But my first thought was pet, then breeding, right? Well, like I said, God had other plans for us, because within a very short time, that business was closed and we were off and running. And that's all we do is bullies.
That's amazing when you hear
Yeah.
that.
So when we had the breeding, I guess a lot of it was just instinct, because I did it when I look back, a lot of things were instinctive that you would do now as a breeder. So look, when we had the breeding and then we had the litter, we said, okay, we're going to keep Genesis, and there was another one, Ruth. There was these two females we were going to keep. We wanted to keep females, and we were going to give Samson to our son.
I'm sure about that.
And his wife said, no, I don't want a dog. No, I don't want it. And so now think about that. If she would have said yes, that would have been it.
Yeah.
It would have been over.
Crazy.
Like, well, not over, but you know what I mean. It
Yeah,
wouldn't have went
he's
down the way
not
it
with you.
did.
Because
Huh?
he Samson's not with you. You'd have been with.
Right. Over there, and not in the show ring, and probably just as a pet. And oh my God, he's beautiful. And then maybe later on, we might have recognized, his worth. Because he's in the show ring way later than in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because what set us in motion was Samson.
Yes.
So, in other words, if it would have played that way, it would have been different. Samson's the one that set us in motion, because from 6 months on, he was just had this presence of like, oh my God,
Yeah.
look at this dog. So it set us on that fast pace. But
That
yeah, so there goes that. Like
that's
he wouldn't even been in the show ring, probably.
that's crazy. That's going back to what I was saying. When God has something for you, it's gonna happen, and there's
Yeah.
nothing no one can stop. No,
He's gonna
nothing
open doors
can
and close
happen.
doors accordingly. Yes.
Yup, and
And
you're
you
gonna
have to
find
trust
your
him.
way right there in that moment, and that's awesome. Like I didn't know it was like that. Like that, that's crazy.
It's
I'm not.
crazy, huh?
Hey,
Yeah.
that is crazy, and
Mhm.
I'm actually really happy I got
Okay, here we go. You want to hear some? Okay, now you're really gonna die when you hear this. So we
that.
go, and now we're on the internet. We look at this guy. We go meet this guy. We go check out the puppy. We're trying to decide all these things, right? So now, AJ, don't laugh. Okay, everybody, don't laugh at us. You're gonna die. Do you know that we did not even look at that pedigree until we got home?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a pedigree was.
Like,
Yo, that is crazy.
yes.
Holy smokes. But
And so then when we got her, and that's what led us to Ed, like we were talking earlier, I kind of looked at the pedigree, and now mind you, it wasn't stupidity through the whole process.
We've seen a
And
lot
we're
of
smart, and we
we've
kind
seen a
of,
lot of his interviews online
well, no, I'm talking
too.
about like, as far as like breeding and the process of it. Like, we knew what a pedigree was, and we did do a little research here and there.
Yeah.
And I had read something somewhere about take the blood from the back end and bring it forward. And so now, whether that's right or wrong, is to the eye of the beholder. But that's what I leaned my understanding on. And I said, this dog Dax right here, I feel like we should go get him and bring him up here and breed to him and pull this forward.
that
Now, my mindset's a little bit different on that. I feel like, someone asked me that question one time, do you think dogs are the past? How far back in the pedigree should you go? And my mindset's changed a little bit as far as that goes. It's not necessarily, it's according to the dog. It's according to what it did. It's according to, how you want to utilize a dog back in the pedigree like that.
yeah.
Because you have to remember, we've moved forward. Those
Yes.
dogs are things of the past.
Yes.
We've improved on that. So in a sense, why would we want to go back to that
Absolutely.
if we've
So
improved?
that right there, I'm sorry to cut you off
No,
because
it's
I
okay.
want to touch on that point you just made, because that is a very great point. Obviously we look at these iconic dogs, but when we are breeding with a vision and breeding with intent, that means we're setting up each breeding to outproduce. If we're doing it the right way, we're trying to throw better than what we have, which
Yes.
goes back to what I said previously. When we look at, for example, American Pit Bull Terriers, right, and we look at that breed 90 years ago, 90 plus years ago, and you look at them now, and you see the tinkerings and the breed involvement. Obviously, they refined it. I feel
Right.
like I feel like with Samson, he is he has old school blood, like in the obviously his roots are that, but he's
Right.
very refined, and
Right.
each generation they get more refined
Fine. Yes.
and that is the goal with every breeding after that is to improve. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
and
hmm
and
And it
and I just
doesn't
wanted to
mean,
piggyback off that point
yeah,
for.
no, it's okay. And it doesn't mean that those dogs weren't the Babe Ruth of their era, because they
Mhm.
were. Those iconic dogs, like you said. And it doesn't mean that if you want to go back there and get them and use them, that you can't, because that's a possibility too.
Yeah,
According to your plans and what you're trying to pull and what you're trying to do. Every breeder has their own
absolutely.
method on how they're trying to do things. Um, but with that said, Dax at that time was he's iconic. He will always be iconic. He was the Babe Ruth of his era. Um,
Absolutely was.
let's say, for instance, I'm not saying he is, but let's say Samson. Okay, he's one of the iconic dogs of his era, one of the Babe Ruths. Okay, so it doesn't mean you can't take Samson moving forward, because I hear people and I understand it, and I'm like, okay, let me give you what you're asking for. Let me recreate Samson with a shorter back, more maybe a pocket size, um, whatever these things that I hear, improve on the dog. So that's who's to say 10 when we're another 6 or 7 years in and creating these Samsons. Why would we go it's hard for me to say, but why would we go back to Samson if we've improved on him?
Absolutely.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? If we've shortened up his back and gave him, a little bit more, because you can take the most brilliant dog and improve on it, especially an American Bully. I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
it
I
doesn't
agree.
matter what dog it is. You can give it a little better of a shoulder set, a little better of an upper arm, higher upper arm, a little more. I don't think more angulation in Samson, but there's a lot of things you can improve on a dog. A lot of people say Sam doesn't have the angulation he has, but I see the dog in person. I know what kind of angulation the dog has.
Yeah.
He has very nice
I,
angulation.
I would tell you this because I
And
own
throws
one
it.
of his daughters. I would tell you this because I own one of his daughters. So the litter that produced Ghost, obviously, Chanel's off of Samson bred to Ghost's sister. So they had solid, not super stiff in the stifles. Layla was better than Ghost, but
Mhm.
it's very evident in the push off that Chanel has. She has a very strong rear from
Yeah,
how she
the
pushes
drive,
off
the
her the
push,
drive off the
the
rear.
drive.
That's what I was looking to bring. In her rear mass and the angulation, it is you could definitely tell that Samson helped that out, and it was what I needed. I feel like, this video is not about me. I genuinely feel that what Chanel has, Ghost needs, and what Ghost has, Chanel needs, and
And
when
that's pairing dogs,
yes, yes, and
right?
yes,
Yes, that's pairing dogs. When it goes like this, not
yes,
like this, you
yes,
know.
and
Um,
that's what we try to strive for.
Right, exactly. And a lot of people, when they're looking at these dogs, you can't just look at them standing or walking around or whatever. You need to look at them, how they're running. Are they pushing with that? Are they pushing? Are they giving that rear drive? You
Yep,
know, um, and what's their front assembly look like? And because their front assembly has to be able to keep up with that rear assembly. If you
absolutely,
got way too much
absolutely.
drive and you don't have a proper front, then it's not smooth. So
Yep,
there's a lot of things that you have to, as a dog is in movement, see and understand. A lot of people don't realize that just a dog gaining around a ring doesn't necessarily make it a dog that is um, a good push for your breeding program. You
yes,
really, when you're breeding, it's a whole different ball game. You have to say to yourself, you cannot be, yeah, I have a nice dog, and You have to find the best dog in your yard with the best drive, with the best rear, with the best, like bring the best out so you can move forward with the best. A lot of people don't understand to watch that rear drive. And I'm sorry I got into that because you brought it up. So it just, to me, it's really important to
It's
watch that
extremely,
push with both feet just,
yeah,
nailing it.
that is extremely important. Extremely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because this is a breed that obviously, one of the downsides, especially when people have gotten tight, we're a breed that there's dogs that struggle with hip dysplasia, and it's not that it's not it's not prevalent in other breeds. It's just that this breed does have that. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people complain about that, and the thing is when you breed a certain way, you get that strong, healthy rear. That's
Yes.
how you push the American Bully breed forward because we're trying to build a complete dog. I know I tell people in my content what my goal is, but I just want a complete dog. A dog that has the full extension on the gate, that can run, that
There you
can
go.
jump,
Yes. Full
that can
extension.
do
Yeah.
everything. And the thing is like, going back to what I said before about breed involvement, a dog like right now we're what, let's say give or take 25 to 30 years. If we going based off of when the ABKC was founded, we'll talk about a little bit more than 20 years, but we're on the safer side, we'll say 30 when people were trying to make this come forward, right? We are at a point right now where we're still a very very young breed and we're still refining everything. We need to be able to get the traits, the confirmation, the movement, and I think that's going to come with time. So now going back to the breeding, right, that produced Samson. Obviously, you spoke about this a little bit earlier with the stud choices for Chunky. Um, when you went and said, you know what, we want to breed Chunky, outside of that yard, was there any other dog that you had thought to use with Chunky, or was it like,
Nope.
we love Dax, we're
Nope.
trying to go to something off of this? How did that work out?
Nope, nope. Because remember, so we didn't even know Dax, but we remember I went in the pedigree. Let's use this dog. So that's what prompted us to contact Ed. And then once we contacted Ed, I don't know. It just was like sometimes I'm just a one and done. Let's do it. Like I feel confident. I've kind of always been that type of person where if I don't have discernment about it, then I feel confident. Let's do it. So we contacted Ed. Dax wasn't alive. These are the dogs I have. And so we made the choices from the dogs that he had, and that was the end of it. He was the only breeder we contacted to
That's all.
breed. He
I
was the
love
only
that.
stud
I
owner that
love
we
that.
contacted. And then it was a done sealed deal. He answered me. He talked to me on the phone. And we conversed, and then we went down there, didn't see the dog, which I highly don't recommend doing. I mean, all these things you got to get as a new breeder. I'm sitting saying, don't do that,
Yeah.
but when you're governed by, I feel that God, and like I said, doors will open and close. If he didn't want that, if that wasn't the path for us, he wouldn't have opened all those doors. He would have shut them. The
I,
breeding wouldn't have took this. Actually, we were there with another breeder when we bred Chunky, right?
Yeah, they bred the Baccarat.
Yeah, and they bred the Baccarat. And I'll never forget this. Oh my gosh. And I have to learn to be confident and say these things because I'm always like, I don't ever want to get people's hopes up, even though you hear me saying, dream on. Heck yeah, dream on, but you have to be realistic too. But I'll never forget. Here's another thing you're gonna like about the Ed archives. Um, his van was sitting there, and when we walked up, there was Baccarat and there was Santino sitting in the crates, looking outward. And I was just like, wow, I'd never seen like a bully like that before, because Chunky was still younger, and I was like, wow, she was a female, and I go, man, I hope one day, I'll get dogs like that. And he looked at me and he goes, one day, because you're going to get it in this breeding. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah,
Yo, that's awesome. That
mhm,
is awesome.
so another precious moments with Ed, but Yeah.
He was always positive like that.
Yeah. Oh, there was, it's funny because you forget about things. So when you said, was there anything he had ever said, like breeding wise, he didn't really like express things or nothing like that. But here's another tidbit. When we brought Genesis, when we went down to do the ear crop, remember we traveled. So we went down there to do the ear crop, and Genesis just she's like 9 or 10 weeks, and she just crawled up walked up underneath his legs. He's standing there, and he looked down at her, and he goes, he was pretty impressed by the litter, and he goes, he pointed down, and he goes, "You need to take her back to Santino."
Really?
Yeah. He goes, "You need to." This is exactly how I said it. He goes, "You need to take this bitch back to Santino." And I was like,
crazy.
and I'll tell you, back then I couldn't say that. I couldn't like say the word, but now I use it freely, almost to the point where it's disrespectful to my girls. But yeah, that's what he said. And so we didn't at first, and then after he died, now here's doors closing. Okay, here you go.
There we go.
So we were going to take when we ended up taking Genesis back to Santino. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to go to Lucy.
No. Oh,
Yeah. He didn't know this, but we had the 10 grand sitting in our cash, sitting in our.
To go to Louis V. That's
Yes.
what? Yo, you see
And
that's why
we
I
went
love
down
doing
there.
this, because you get stuff
This
like
is
this.
something nobody knows.
That's
Tell
crazy.
them 3/4 to the interview. You need to wait for it. But so here's the tidbit no one knows. So we went to meet George, very nice guy, great guy. Abisai, brought us over to his yard, and we met Abisai. Back then, we would go and visit Abisai. But so, anyways, we had the 10,000 sitting there because we were going to lock him in. We went to his yard, seen all of his dogs. It was a great day. But for some reason, I just said, let's just hold off. I listened to my discernment on, wait a second, just think about it. No, for no reason, nothing that I can pinpoint to say, nothing negative, about the day or nothing. It was just hold off. So we did. And then I went to go, then now let's fast forward. And I was trying to get hold of George. I couldn't. I contacted the Abisai, hey, can you get a hold of him? For some reason, couldn't get a hold of George. And that's when I got a hold of Stephanie.
Wow.
And that's when we decided, you know what? Let's do what Ed said. Let's bring her back to Santino. Which created Truth, God's Girl, and JJ. 3 incredible dogs that truly pushed my kennel forward. Now you want to hear more, God?
Yeah.
Here you go.
Here we go.
So after that litter was born, we were in the midst of a move, and Gigi caught parvo.
Really?
And almost died.
Wow.
And that dog hung on. I mean, it was months before I was able to get her. I mean, I'm telling you, talk about a long haul with that dog. Mind you, this is right after we won nationals, and we're so afraid Samson's going to get parvo, and you go in there, you dress up for it, you come out, you strip down. It was every 2 hours. It was a long haul with that dog, and it was probably about 2 months before she was even in the clear of like, this dog is going to make it. It was really, really bad. I mean, her intestines came out. This big long thing came out of it. It looked like a big, huge, like tapeworm type of, like a big long, like, what the heck is that?
Really?
And our bully breeder said that's her intestines.
What?
I'm like, it was shedding. I'm like, oh my God, it was really, really bad.
And you can get parvo even if you've given vaccination.
Yeah, it was just a horrific thing. So, anyways, long story short, JJ's a nice producer. GG. So that dog gave me Paradise. I don't know if you've seen
That's
Paradise.
great. Absolutely.
She's given us some nice dogs. Let me see. We
That's
did GG2.
Well, you got this.
Chase's dog, Grand Champion Brisket, gave
nice.
us a nice litter, and Sarah's a very nice dog. I'm grateful for, shout out to Chase, I'm grateful for Brisket and the use of him as an outcross. An Enigma. He looks like a Samson clone. He's still a puppy. We haven't shown him since he was puppyhood, but he's a little Samson clone, a little bit shorter, a little shorter back. So we're just kind of waiting for him to get through that little kind of funky stage.
Yeah.
Because some of these dogs, when they're growing, they're so big as they're growing, they have to grow into their own. They're just
Absolutely.
funky. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when I say funky, I don't mean like crazy. I mean like they're just big and they're not
Goofy.
Yeah, they're goofy. They got to grow into their own.
The
But
best
anyway, that's some more.
The best way I'll say it, I'll put it is like they got to go through their like clumsy phase, like
That's it. Clumsy.
that they have to like grow. Like there's a lot going on because of the traits of the breed, and as the body's developing, sometimes the traits grow, but the body, the structure needs to fill out. It needs to catch up
with itself.
It needs to catch up. And
Yeah.
yes, I agree with that 1000%. What were your expectations for the pups? Like, did you run it and go like this? Because I know Ed told you, yeah, you're gonna get this dog, but did you say, you know what? Hey, I think we'll get good pups. We'll get something nice. And did you ever think that, hey, we're gonna produce Samson, Madden, and Genesis in this? Like, did you think that it would be good, or did that just come about where it was like, they're gonna be good, and then holy shit, this is way more than what we can get?
No.
We didn't know nothing.
No, it didn't work out that way. We just did a breeding. And I'm not saying that we did a breeding out of like stupidity, but we didn't have no expectations for it. We weren't in the expectation mode. We were more in the learning mode because, mind you, remember I was saying that we kind of just wanted to learn the breed, breed the dogs, maybe learn through the breeding, maybe give the dogs to our family and friends, Samson, my son, that type of thing, never in my head did a show ring enter my mind.
No.
Like I didn't even think of that part of the equation. Like, kind of got to prove yourself through, none of that really entered my mind. And that's a huge thing. That's an intricate part of breeding. And yeah, so, it's funny as you go, like your mind, what you're thinking in the beginning is completely opposite of what actually transpires and what needs to happen.
Question for you: when you're looking at the pups, right? You got them there. What traits did Samson have that stood out from his littermates that made you say, yeah, he's a little bit different?
That's another weird thing to me when I look back, because in my head, he stood out, right?
Yeah.
In our heads, he stood out like, wow, right? But when I look back at the litter, knowing what I know now, and the knowledge I have now, he wouldn't have stood out.
Really?
No.
He was a badass pup too.
I'm gonna send you a video. Of me just talking to him in their box. And I look over at Samson. Yeah, they were all nice puppies. The litter was nice. Now, did they all turn out really nice? Maybe not all of them, but I'm going to tell you, they probably. Let me think. I got to think. Okay, here you go. Looking back, if they all would have stayed in the show ring, they would have all became champions. That much I can tell you.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And I'm not speaking kennel blind wise. So you've got Leonidas. He started in the show ring, but that kind of fell apart because the owner, different route. He got a job. Things happened. He was halfway to his championship title, and he's a really nice dog. Now, not as nasty. Now you have to remember, Genesis, Madden, and Samson were the cream of the crop. They were the ones that had the full, the more overall ball of wax, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Leonidas was a really nice dog too, but not as powerful looking as Samson and Madden. So in other words, it went Samson, Madden, Leonidas, and then probably Rocco. Rocco was more of a classic dog, but still a very nice dog. And maybe at this time I haven't seen him recently, but he might have bulked up a little bit. I don't know, but he could have champed as a classic. I know Leonidas would have champed. One of the other females, Lola. Oh God, that dog was thick and nice. She
was like
Genesis. I'm pretty positive so these dogs I feel would have champed if they would have gotten in the ring. And I'm not just saying that. So anyways, Samson didn't really, looking back now, he didn't really stand out. But back then, for some reason,
but he did get bigger
it.
and bigger.
As he grew apart from the pack.
Yeah.
So as a breeder, let's say, but it's 6 weeks or about 6 weeks, you wouldn't have said, well, I'll show you the video. And the video was like, I think around 5 weeks. He was bigger, he was thicker, but it wasn't like you would say he's the dog. Because as breeders, we know bigger and thicker isn't necessarily mean
you got to
better.
remember, we didn't even know what the dog was, really. Yeah. It was just all new to us.
Yeah. So we knew he was special. We knew he was something, but and maybe that was me when he was older. But as a puppy, he kind of just looked like the rest of them, just a little bit better.
That's crazy. So utilizing your knowledge now, how far you've been in the game and producing these dogs, utilizing this blood, right? When you look at Samson, can you see now, knowing your knowledge, that when you see these traits on your dogs, so when they are puppies and they're growing up in the early stages, now you know, okay, when I see this as a puppy, this is how this dog is going to progress. Does that ever come to you? Do you get when you gain more experience utilizing this blood? Like, I see that trait as a puppy, I know how this progresses, and we're good. Like, how does that process work for you now?
Okay, so the process, nobody can really look at a puppy and distinguish what's going to happen in the future, because especially in the breed in its infancy, right?
Yes.
But with that said, we can still look at these puppies, and we can, as we hone in on your bloodline and learn your bloodline. That's why a lot of our puppies in the beginning didn't even go up for sale. We kept them. We want to watch how they grow. We want to learn our bloodline. So you learn how it grows, like we were talking earlier, you learn what the funky stages are in your own blood. Their muzzles might be a little bit long, but later on that when their heads morph, they shorten up. The illusion is, it's things happen, things change, things shift. A puppy can gain angulation, lose angulation. A lot of weird things happen. But as you breed, and as you move forward with your breed and you fine tune it, you truly fine tune it. I don't mean just putting dogs together and doing breedings and thinking you're doing it. I mean truly doing it. Truly staying in the back of your head. I have fine tuned these dogs to where I know I have a higher percentage of knowing what the outcome is going to be. I think that's what your question was, right?
That's the best way to put it. I wasn't able to get the high percentage thing out there, but where you see something, you're like, yeah, I kind of know how this is gonna. You kind of feel you have a little bit more of a comfort level with knowing, okay, I've seen this before. I kind of know.
Like, okay, I know this dog is, probably going to end up being a little more classic-y, or I know this dog is going to be maybe slightly hopped or whatever. You can see it, but as you breed forward, we've been very lucky where we've been able to really fine-tune it, because we've dealt with a really nice dogs and bloodlines from the beginning. We had something really good to work with, so we've been able to fine tune it pretty well. But it doesn't mean, it's just the percentage of your dogs, right? And I'm even to the point now where I'll see if someone locks on a dog with me, a puppy with me, and I start to see things that my breeder isn't after. Like, for instance, if my breeder is after, or my client is after big and thick, and I realize that dog isn't necessarily coming up. It's kind of backing off from that, and it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. I'll revisit that puppy with my client So it's not just even about me, it's about who's purchasing my dogs and their breeding program. And I'll help them if I can, to my best of my ability, switch up their pick. Now that's a risk. That's money loss. It's a loss of an invested customer. But to me, when you're wanting to breed forward, you want your customer to succeed as well. And
Yes.
their success isn't going to be based off of facade.
Yes.
Makes any sense. So, you're going to say, okay, maybe this dog will be better for you because it's thicker. It still holds down enough information for you. Like, in other words, I guess I'm just trying to explain that it's not even just about your yard. It's about what you're putting out there and making sure that your client gets what they're wanting. Sometimes the expectation with us is people will want, they have too high of an expectation.
Yes.
They want dogs like Samson. They
Yeah.
want to sell
They
them
want
dogs.
show.
They want show dogs that they can run all over the world. Well, that's a very hard
If I
load to
could
carry
do that,
and an expectation that's like doesn't exist, shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But I understand it, and I'm honored, with that expectation. But um, those puppies are.
I'm going to keep those dogs.
We do have. Now, I'm not saying we don't have dogs that are grand champions that I see and I look at that's a grand champion. But I'll tell people, like, I can't. First of all, I can't sell you a puppy and tell you what's going to happen with that puppy. I can sell you a show prospect, but I
Yeah.
can't sell you a show dog. Now, in my brain, do I pretty much know that dog's going to be a grand champion? I have an idea, to answer your question.
Yes.
I have an idea. Yeah, it will. Will I promise it? No,
Yes.
I
So
can't.
So the reason why I brought that up, like going back to what you said before, right? To piggyback. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's
I
okay.
felt like it was a perfect time to do it. Going back to what you said and noticing the traits. So when we picked up Chanel, right?
Uh-huh.
Chanel had a little bit of a longer muzzle, and it was kind of like we kind of thought she was gonna have Layla's muzzle when we got her as a puppy, right? And nothing wrong with it. It's just we thought it was going to be a little bit longer, which is fine. It is what it is. I'm not kidding you. It stood the same size. It never grew. It stood the same size the whole time. And as her head developed, it didn't move. It just stood right there the whole time. And that's when I was like this. It's very difficult, especially when combining these bloods, to take you because you don't know it. Sometimes when you look at the puppy, you're like, man, it's showing this, and it's like, oh,
Ed
okay.
did say that.
And it's crazy because Chanel, what literally happened is the same size muzzle she had at 9 weeks old when we picked her up. It's the same size she has now, and her head just literally top swam
That's what I was
fell
trying to describe.
right in.
Yep.
And me and Dan often have this conversation. He goes like, man, if you would
That's
have
what I was
told
trying
me
to describe.
that her muzzle would have stood like that, I'd have went like this. No way. Like but that's the fascinating part to genetics. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And how it all develops.
Well, and to know your bloodline and to be able to share, like you said, going back to the traits, I kind of veered off a little bit, but knowing, if you know your bloodline, you know what muzzles you're looking at. You just know what you're looking at. You know what probably the outcome of that dog is going to be, right? So, especially when you're talking about the muzzles, like I've had breeders come back and say, hey, you know, do these muzzles shorten up? Do they get, I'm seeing, like, do their head shapes change? I go, yeah, just wait it out, because
Yeah.
um, all of that will shift. And like you said, it's not necessarily that the muzzle doesn't, because it's longer. What happens is the head shape morphs around that muzzle, and the
Yes.
appearance of that muzzle isn't long anymore.
Yes.
But it could tend to look long as a puppy. Now, this goes back to, um, I think, my assumption, we're breeding American bullies over here.
Yes.
We're not breeding bulldogs.
Yes.
I don't want to see a bulldog. I want to see American bully in my yard. So
Yes.
I'm not looking for a smashed muzzle. If that's what you're looking for, I might not be the kennel for you. I want dogs with, where they can breathe without problems, and so forth. So as puppies, you want short muzzles. Don't get me wrong. I want a nice, short, blocky, thick muzzle. I don't want a long, snipey muzzle. But
Yes.
if I get a muzzle that is a little bit longer than I want, I'm not throwing that dog away. I'll utilize it again down the road if the rest of it is good. These are the things that we have to pick and choose as we're going. But it's funny how the muzzle will be longer as a puppy, and then it'll morph later as the dog matures. The muzzle doesn't morph, but the head shape and the headpiece does.
Yes. So for you personally, which trait for you is a deal breaker? Like something that you go, this is pet quality. What trait is it for you?
Pops. I can hardly stand to look at a flawed dog, period. I'm such a perfectionist. It's hard, right, babe? We went out in the yard months back, and I said, if we were letting a certain litter grow, and I said, okay, we're just going to pet home all these dogs. And Mark just looked at me, he goes, Tammy, you do understand that these dogs right here are probably some people's best dogs. Like,
Really?
yeah, I'm just really seriously a perfectionist. Now, with that said, I'm not perfect, and I don't have perfect dogs, but I'm a perfectionist. So looking at any type of flaw is hard for me, really hard. It really, really is. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have broodstock in my yard. I look at it, but I don't like it.
Yes.
Okay, because I know broodstock. I know all. I'm not a breeder that doesn't understand the importance of all the aspects of the breeding program. The importance of broodstock, conformation, breed type, genes, like all these things that all come into play when we're setting up these breedings in these dogs.
But we have
But I hate flaws.
we have female that you wouldn't even take in the ring, but she's produced some
Really nice dogs. I mean, to the set, bring her to the ring. I'm like, I'm not bringing that dog to the ring. But I can't stand hawks. I can't stand a dog that's really high, or a
So,
dog with a high rear,
well, yeah, that's
or a dog with low shoulder set. See,
yes.
it goes on and on. I just have a hard time looking at flaws, so it's hard for me. Those three, I guess, would really irritate me, among anything else.
Okay, so going back to Samson, right? Did you ever think, especially when Samson's on Samson's journey, he's collecting all these best of breeds, best in shows. Now you have a really high quality type of dog. But what was the moment for you when you said, well, did it ever grace your mind that, hey, we might have produced maybe the greatest American bully ever? Did that ever come across your mind on this journey with him? Did that ever come across like at all? And what was that moment?
Um,
What was it for you guys that solidified it to like, yeah, we got something that's the real deal?
well, as we were going with Samson, we knew he had something nice, obviously. Um, the dream of nationals was there. We didn't run Samson for nationals, like we didn't run him like for top dog or anything like that. We just, like I said, man, we had our children's boutique, which kept us quite busy. So we just kind of brought him from show to show here and there, and he did quite well. And so we knew it had a nice dog. When we won nationals, it was like the most humbling experience ever. And he won against some serious contenders, some really nice dogs, and probably, I believe, the largest nationals in history. I think there was like 46 grand champions there, if I'm correct.
Crazy.
I would
Wow.
love to get the stats on that, but it was a very, very big class. So him winning that class kind of solidified in our heads that we have a nice dog, but it still didn't register because, like I said, I'm not a person to think more of. I like to try to just say, yeah, it's great, it's good. Not over emphasize on things, even if it's good. So we knew we had something nice, but it was way later, probably. How do I say this? It's in the show ring. We knew we had something nice when he started his journey. You know, you find out the dog is a really good show dog. Then you find out the dog is like seriously healthy. You know, then you find out that the dog is, you know, throwing himself and he's, you know, like doing well in productions. Then you find out, you know, that the dog can, like, you can inbreed that blood from him. You can inbreed him and get him tight. You know, all these things. And so I would have to say that it wasn't until like maybe a couple of years ago that that we have something that no one will ever comprehend. It's beyond comprehension. Do we need to shout it to the world? We can put it out there. You know, are we going to beat our chests over it? He's just a good dog. You know, he's a magnificent dog. But that's probably about a couple of years ago, I guess you could say, that really solidified that this dog is beyond. He's just, yeah, he's incredible.
He's amazing. So, you know, going back to the show career, right? As a breeding program, when you had the opportunity to see Grand Champion Samson, your dog, in there with Madden in the 2022 Grand Champion class, how does that make you feel? Because I feel like as a breeder in your program, you know, some people struggle to even produce one Grand Champ, but to have litter mates competing against one another, that's another level of excellence.
That was cool. Yeah.
How does that feel for you guys?
It was a really good feeling, and that's why we did it. Because we were very proud of Madden, and Madden's a brilliant dog. He just didn't get to shine because he was shadowed by Samson a lot of times. People would lock in Madden, but then they would switch up to Samson. Some people did use Madden, but you know, Samson overshadowed Madden, which was sad, but you know. So anyways, it was a really great feeling to see the two of them in there together, and that's why we did it. That's why we put Samson in there. That's the only reason why we put Samson in that particular year, because we thought, okay, Madden's going to be going to nationals. He's in the top, and we want to get both the litter mates in there, and just have that proud moment of having both of our, you know, the litter mate offspring in there. Yeah, I was bummed that he didn't win. It would have been really cool to take a back to back, but it didn't bother me because they went in there and they made me so proud.
Yes.
You know, so they walked out. There's no shame in losing. A really nice dog won. He gave it his all. I was very happy for the winners, and very happy for the two boys being in there together. So it was mostly about having those litter mates in there together. And someone said, "Why are you putting Samson in?" I said, "Well, when am I ever going to have the opportunity to have litter mates of this caliber?
1000%.
Come on, like think about it." Yeah.
Never gonna happen.
Like, think about it. Like, it's the same thing when people ask me, "Hey, you think you'll be able to reproduce Samson?" Are you kidding me? You're talking about like one of the most brilliant dogs in the world.
Yes, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to sound like if I'm being biased. In my opinion, I think when it's all said and done, Samson will go down as that number one. They kind of how everybody speaks about Dax. I firmly believe Samson will take over that role, and that's the type of level I perceive him on. But it's everything that comes behind it. You know, it's much more than just the look, the confirmation, the show accolades, producing history, because that's what made Dax as iconic as he is. His producing history and his iconic sons, but his sons also being able to throw. It's literally a more complete version of Dax, a bigger version of Dax in Samson.
Right. Yes.
That
Yeah.
that is what you have. And I think, in my opinion, I firmly believe, that Samson will go down as number one, and he will leave an amazing legacy, on that time. The same way people talk about Dax and his sons, I firmly believe that Samson's going to be that next dog. That's my opinion,
Right.
because of what I see. It's not like I'm just, hey, he's just a big badass dog. No, no, no. It's what I see. It's the productions. It's the
Yeah.
kids. It's literally the same thing that you had with the Dax sons. Dax became iconic because he was throwing his dogs, but
Right.
his kids were also
Throwing
throwing.
it. Yes.
And the
And you
type,
see, yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but
you
you
get what I'm
see in
saying?
the grandchildren, Dax.
Yes.
And you see in the generations down that Dax is carrying on that bloodline. Like it's so strong, so thick, it just continues on. Kind of the same thing with Samson. You'll see, when I just need to look across the room and I know if that dog was off of Samson or not.
Absolutely.
Look like
And that's amazing in
Yeah,
its own right, that you could look at a dog and go, oh yeah, that boy got some Samson in him. And that's that your trademark. You get what I'm saying? And
yeah,
that's why for me, that's why I feel the way I do about him, right? So now it's crazy, right? Because if you think about it, from that breeding, your first breeding, you had Madden and you had Samson in there. But had you continued to show Genesis, she for sure would have got the Grand Champ title. You
absolutely.
could have had three dogs from the
Three of them
from the
in
one
there.
breeding in this ring. And the thing is when you start talking about, obviously we know Samson's an incredible dog, Madden's an incredible dog, and so is Genesis. But how many people, if you really think about it, how many breeding camps can really say, I've produced this breeding that has had X amount of grand champions from the same breeding litter mates that have performed and at a high level in these magnified shows? And I'll say this because I firmly believe there's not a lot of breedings out there that have done something special like that. And I
Right.
feel like anytime a breeding camp has been able to achieve that feat, you already thrusted yourself into that elite territory. I wouldn't say iconic status, but definitely as the breeding camp that produced
Yeah.
these
Well,
dogs.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. It was an exceptional breeding. It was an exceptional litter. And not only do we have the triple national winner Samson, like you said, there's some brilliant dogs. You've got his daughter that's an ICBR national winner as well, and I truly believe that she could even have a shot at ABKC Nationals. She's just a really brilliant dog. I just hear this all the time, like, if you bring your dog to this registry, that registry, it's not ABKC, so it's not worthy. No, this dog is ICBR worthy, any registry worthy. I feel it's ABKC worthy. She's a contender, definitely a contender for nationals. And then also Madden, he's a national winner for the ICBR. I love the ICBR. Shout out to them. They've got some great judges. It's a great registry. So if you don't know about the ICBR, you should check them out. But Madden as well, a contender for the ABKC. The established registry of the breed. Or the mother registry. That's the word I'm trying to look at. More the mother registry of the breed. So these dogs can go as well to the ABKC just because their titles were ICBR or whatever. Let's just put it this way: any title I carry will also be able to carry an ABKC title, if that makes any sense. Um,
Gotcha.
so they're not just national win in certain registries. They may not be a national win in the ABKC, but trust me, they would definitely be contenders. And I'm really upset with myself because Madden, I pulled him. And I'm really mad at myself because I truly, honestly believe if I would have waited on that dog, he would have been a national winner.
Nice.
He
Hey,
would have he would have been last year's national winner. I have no
gotcha. That's
doubts.
crazy. And he's a badass dog. So for your program, right now, what are your personal
Yeah.
goals? What are your goals for the future of your program? And do you feel like you are already at the point of producing consistently the standard at which you want your dogs to look like, or do you feel like there's another level that you guys could tap into?
Oh yeah, there's always. Well, let me just say, hold on. Let me just say, there's always. You're never gonna, to a perfectionist. They're never gonna reach. I have Samson. It ain't enough.
Yeah,
So.
that's true.
I mean, I don't ever feel like hey, I'm there. I'll never feel like I'm there because I'm always going to feel like we could make it better, you know. So I'm just going to keep breeding. We used to have some brilliant dogs. We're actually going to be cutting down on a few of them because we got some, not cutting down, but you're rotating, you're shifting dogs because
Yes.
dogs come in, puppies come in that are really nice. So then you have to start making the cuts, Um, but you just keep rotating out and you keep shifting, and refining, and just try to keep making it better.
That's the goal. So in your program right now, obviously we know your notable dogs, but I we spoke about this before. You have a yard full of insane dogs that are amazing, incredible. What are the names of those dogs that maybe people you haven't showcased that are incredible?
We got a lot of dogs that I got to get to the show ring. We have Gospel, which is pretty nice. She's a blue dog. She's standard.
Yeah.
Standard. She's off of Tank to D3. So she's one. I probably will never, to be honest with you, I'll probably never get in the show ring because she's older now. She'll probably go right into breeding. So I'm not going to stress out about it. I have Church. I'm going off of them in their kennels because that's the easiest way to remember. She is housed with Church, which is a really nice dog, which is off of Tank to Cervantes' dog. We took a Samson daughter, Glory, to Tank, and we created a litter there, and I took Church off of that litter.
She's a Brendo bitch.
She's a nice little brindle, and she's very bully and very impressive because of her size. She's really, really short and just poosh, So I'm going to try to get her to the
The
show
demon boy
ring.
girl.
Then we got Destiny, like we were talking about earlier. She's just incredible. Then of course I'd like to I'm working on Paradise, trying to condition her and get her, I want to get her out there and get her title. She's really, really bully, really, really nice. Way better in person. A lot of our dogs are better in person than they are on film. Who else do we? We got Enigma, which is
Demon
a
boy.
Samson grandson, the one that looks just like Samson. I'm waiting for him. He'll be the show
We got
ring.
the Samson daughter, the black one.
I have a Samson daughter, which is a demon boy granddaughter,
Man,
and
that's
she's black. She's just turned 12 months. I wanted to get her to Georgia, but things didn't work out for me to get to Georgia because I messed up on my paperwork and didn't get in time. I forgot to check my P.O. box. But she's really nice. Then we have a girl that's housed with her that's a try. That's really nice that we got from a puppy back. These dogs that I'm naming, I don't have no doubts. They're champions. I don't. I'm not bringing it. I'm not bringing. I'm not. I'm not bringing. It's not even about the money, the time, or anything. I mean, it's not even about the money or anything. It's about the time. So I don't have enough time to go to a show ring and say I think this might happen.
yeah.
That makes sense. It's not about. It's not about being cocky or confidence or anything. It's about being smart and saying there's no point. I don't have the time. I can hardly get to the show ring as it is.
Yeah.
So when I'm go, trust me, I'm going to make sure I bring the dog that's going to champ, right?
Yes.
It kind of makes sense. It's not about being cocky that, hey, my dog's a champion. It's about, I don't have the time to play around with it. So I'm only going to bring the dogs that I feel I know that this can happen with.
We have mostly females.
Yeah, right now we have females. Now we have 4 males. I got 4 males that are really nice. Man. Oh man, I'm excited. But I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I weighed it out. to see what's going to happen. Even though, like you said, you know, our percentages are there, they're good, but I still will never, you know, talk about a dog until it's at least 12 months old.
Gotcha.
Because,
So
you know, you have to wait that stuff out.
yes, absolutely. You 1000% have to. So for you, your program right now, what breedings are you going to be setting up in the future, and which dogs are you going to be looking to push? Like, which one do you believe can potentially be your next high-profile dog that's going to come
Um,
out and really take? Like, where do you think that comes in? The next
it
one
will
for
be,
you guys.
it will be between Enigma, the Samson boy that looks like Samson.
No, he's off tank.
I mean, not Samson boy. Sorry, Samson grandson, off of Tank, his inbred son. So he's off of Samson's inbred son Tank. So either Enigma, which is older, and then we have where's the little boy that we just produced? Armor.
There you
Okay,
go.
here we go. And Armageddon is another one that's that I really have high hopes for. In that dog, I see a lot in that dog. I see a nice shoulder set, a nice rear. I see rear drive as the dog, even as a puppy. The way he moves. Um, I'm seeing all the things that I want to see out of a puppy that I feel that will give me be a nice contender as an adult. But we'll have to see. But Armageddon is probably the dog that I really have high
Yeah,
hopes
he's
for.
off Gabriella and Messenger.
So that's Gabriella and Samson's daughter to an inbred Samson son.
Messenger is a bad dude. He's a
Yeah.
he's
I
a
should have had
phenomenal.
that dog out there at Nationals too. He's really a nice dog. I wish Messenger was a little bit. He's thickened up a lot over time. He was a longer process. He was a slower mover. But with that said, I wish his rear it is thick. Don't get me wrong, but I wish his rear was like more powwow.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
But with that said, now he threw some powwow boys and some powwow kids because that breeding was really nice,
Yeah,
and he has got. He's really, really thick. So I'm really lucky, or we're really lucky because we have two boys that look almost identical to each other, Armageddon and whatever that poor other little boy's name is. I'm forgetting.
there's too many.
She's how embarrassing. But anyways, one's more of a standard, and then the other one I believe is going to be a pocket. So it's going to be pretty cool to watch these two littermate brothers grow because they're, I mean, not a huge difference between them. You know, he'll play your tall pocket short standard, but they look really, really similar.
Yeah,
But I'm banking on Armor because
the,
everyone likes that.
the
yeah.
soldier boy on there is pretty nice.
Oh yeah,
Soldier
we have
guy.
like a Samson lookalike down there as well. It's 4 months old, and that's Candace. So Candace is a demon boy daughter
Gotcha.
to Tank.
No, it's a
Oh,
soldier,
to Soldier,
which is a true son.
the Truth Son. Remember I was telling you about the Genesis went back to her dad
Yes.
and created Truth, Gigi and JJ. Well, Truth created Soldier.
To,
Okay, so we took Soldier to the Demon Boy daughter.
Damn, that pup probably looks crazy.
He
he's
looks
huge.
just like Simpson, and if he he's a nice pup, but he's very big again, you know, and
Yeah.
thick and all that. So we're just waiting it out and seeing what happens with that dog. So yeah, you're right. I forgot about him. That's another really nice one. Um, yeah,
We got a lot. Well, wait till
there's
they
a lot
turn 8,
of
9 months.
prospects coming, and we'll know more in about 6 months. But we're really, I guess what I could say, or what we could say, is that we're seeing a lot of progression going on. A lot of we're adding to the greatness. We're taking. I'm pretty proud that it's moving forward and it's not stagnant. It's not going backwards. It's we're being diligent about moving it forward. And along the way, we were like, let's just get these big dogs to big dogs. It wasn't about that for us, and so I'm pretty excited to say that I'm seeing the confirmation just showing. And now that we're putting these breedings together, you're going to see like just consistent mass with consistent confirmation. And that was our goal all along. And now it's going to start to be like completely
Now we're starting off.
the repetition of it, just yeah.
Gotcha. So I got one last question before we start wrapping up the entire interview. I've noticed that now you guys have decided to outcross. What was your decision making behind saying that this is the time is now? What made you decide now as the time that we're gonna bring in some outcrosses?
Okay. My thought process behind that was we wanted to line breed and inbreed to keep our look consistent, create it, keep it, all of that, and line breeding, locking it in with the line breedings, right? So that way when we outcrossed, um, the outcross, even though we're going after very similar looks, right? We wanted to make sure that our traits remain.
Yes.
So you're setting up dogs all this time and you're line breeding these dogs so that when you outcross them, they bring, like I was talking earlier, what Samson does for other people. You're bringing in their great qualities of that kennel and the same phenotype, genotype, the traits stay with you. Stay with your kennel. The traits of your kennel don't turn into their kennel when you do the breeding. Does that make any sense? So in other words, after my breeding, I want my dogs to look like my dogs.
Yes.
But have the stud just do his job. That's all I'm asking is for the stud, for that kennel to carry me.
Yes.
To carry me with that outcross, for the stud to do his job. To, like, for instance, with McGregor, I just want him to do his job. I want him to give me that bone and that mass. He's a nice boy. And because we've been fine tuning and doing our thing with ours, the two dogs combine together will create greatness for both kennels.
Yes.
Because when you're line breeding and when you're doing all these things, when you outcross, you're lifting that kennel up. At least I want to. I want to represent something where I'm lifting that kennel up as well.
Yes.
I want productions that say, hey, that dog is magnificent. That kennel is doing their job. We're working together to bring this breed forward. So it means a lot to me to make sure that when I do outcross as well, that I'm doing justice by that breeder, by bringing that breeder a good female.
Absolutely.
That's
So
my thought process to it. So in all reality, all that we're basically doing is just line breeding and making sure that we're bringing a good dog that will hold our traits through the breeding, our look, and
gotcha.
confirmation.
I didn't mention the line breeding and inbreeding, what your mindset is on it, just because I know how you guys have bred already, and you touched on it right now in regards to the importance of line breeding and inbreeding, which you just answered that question, and which is awesome that you did it, because I'm a firm advocate of the line breeding, especially if you're trying to lock in certain things that you desire, especially if you're trying to get
Right.
certain you, you know. So has it ever came across you with the way you bred that you would be setting up not only the pups to be successful, the way the pedigree is constructed, that now when you have these sons off of Samson, based off the way you're breeding, that it's highly likely, based on how they were bred, that you feel comfortable that they're going to be able to throw their looks as well. Have you ever thought about it like
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Absolutely. Because as breeders, that's what we want when we sell puppies. A true breeder isn't there to just sell puppies. They're there to sell somebody and set someone up. We're
Yes.
here to sell you a dog. Hopefully, it depends. Like I said, every situation depends on, the surroundings of it. So, as a new breeder, you can't do those things, but as a more seasoned breeder, you can, well, hopefully that's what you're gearing yourself towards, of setting your clients up. And we're to that point now where I know that when I send this puppy to my client, I'm setting them up for hopefully, that's the goal, a female that's a foundation female that they can take to a stud and have success with it,
Yes.
not a struggle with it. See, so you're setting up another breeder through your years of, breeding practices, so that when they receive that dog, they're receiving a dog with good conformation, that should throw good conformation, with good genetics, that should be able to reproduce with good, how do you know they're a producer? Well, because you spend years breeding producers to producers. So
Yes.
they should end up being producers. There's
Absolutely.
so many different aspects of the breeding. Some people will take dogs that aren't such good producers and they'll keep breeding them and using them. No, I'm not saying that they're bad dogs. I'm not saying it's bad breeding. I'm not saying that you should throw them away in the first breeding. But if you see a repetitive dog, a dog doing repetitive breedings where they're fast, so, well, maybe you might not want to. You might want to more so. See, this is very intricate pet homing.
Yes.
Does that make sense? No, hardly anybody goes there. They don't say, "Yeah, I have a really nice litter," but it's not really a produce. I'm not seeing what my other dogs are doing.
Yes.
Producing. So I want producers.
Yeah.
So that's very intricate, and it's not as easy. Actually, the more I talk about it, it's not like it's something you can really foresee, but you can kind of see it. You kind of know. Let's say if you keep litter mates, like I was telling you earlier, when we kept all of our dogs for a long time in the beginning, we didn't sell a lot of them, so we could see these things happening. So we could see that, okay, this dog, it did okay, but like this dog really produced. So
Yes.
that's the dog that we're going to take, and we'll let dogs off of that dog go out to these kennels, or we'll reproduce with those dogs. That
Yes.
takes years. That's not something that happens over one or two breedings. This is the years of fine tuning and honing in on very intricate things.
No doubt.
So anyways, when you go in and when you sell puppies, you want to make sure that they've got a bloodline going, kind of like well, I guess we could go back and say, maybe Chunky. And if I would have bought a dog off of Ed, he would have been selling me a dog that I could utilize as a foundation for my program.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do as breeders.
To wrap up the video, right? What will be some of your tips for new American bully breeders? Like everyone that wants to get into the community, right? And they're like, okay, this is what I want to do. And when they make that decision, what would be your biggest piece of advice to them?
My biggest advice would be confident. Um, Learn as fast as you can. Learn your conformation. The way you're going to learn your conformation is through the show ring and through your mentors. Don't solely go off of what your mentor says. You have to go out there and do your homework for yourself. You can't do things hearsay, even though these mentors are a serious um,
Asset.
asset to us. We know this. So with that said, you have to do this for yourself. You have to learn it for yourself. You have to know it for yourself. So go out there, watch these handlers, watch the confirmation. Do right by the breed. If you always are doing right by the breed and you're breeding according to the standard, it's kind of hard for the pieces not to fall into place. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
in every aspect, because the more you do that, the better your breeding program's going to be, the less flack you're going to hear from the public, and you're going to be able to show your dogs and represent them in the public eye, because I feel like that's a huge thing. I don't think that we should be breeding from pictures. So I would just say, just know your worth. Try and get a dog if you can invest. It just depends on your lifestyle and your situation. Get the best dog you possibly can and move forward with it. Period.
So I love that. So I know I asked you this question before about some of your favorite dachshunds. Okay, I know what your answer was going to be, but I figured I'd ask it because this is going to become a staple of the podcast that I have, and I always want people just to show their preferences. Doesn't matter. Name your yeah, if you can name your personal 5 favorite American bullies ever, and Samson can be included in that.
Okay. Um, Samson. I get to be partial.
We have to put Santino in there.
Santino, his daddy.
Yeah.
And I have to say Dax. I mean, I can't leave Dax out of there. Come on. I mean,
Chunky would have to be there.
yeah,
too.
I got to put Chunky in there. I mean, it sounds very biased. To be honest with you, I hate naming dogs like that because there's so many of them out there that we love, and it's hard for us to just label one dog. But if I was to label one dog outside of Samson, it would probably have to be Dax, huh?
Yeah.
Because I just have so much respect for the dog and the way it changed the breed, because we know that the dog really did truly change the breed. Now, was he that perfect dog, or no? Was he as conformational as Samson? No. But that's not the thing. Is he changed the breed? That's not what matters. What matters is that he was the Babe Ruth of his time, and I'm going to give him credit for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so one more. All right,
Okay.
one more. Is Samson the greatest American bully of all time? And
Yes.
love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, Mark and
Of
Tamara.
course.
Um,
I wish, to be honest with you, to be truthful with you, I wish I could reverse and put Samson back, his fee back. But I can't. I
yeah,
wish I could, but I can't. Um, because he's just, if you can make it happen, I would suggest doing it, because that's why I wish I could take his fee and put it back, to a lower fee. Because it's just he's such a blessing, and he changes people's programs. And if you don't believe me, go to anybody that's used the dog. Go to anybody that's used Samson and ask them, what did Samson do for you? And you can hear it with your own ears.
yeah,
You'll hear what the dog has done. Now, and with the great thing about that is now those people, depending on the caliber of their program, can do the same thing. Because I know that he created producers.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and so, like you, okay, like when someone comes to you, you love Samson, and we're so grateful for it. And I just want to say I'm really grateful for this interview and the opportunity for it, for Samson to shine. But like with you, you're going to create some bad little breezes and some nice boys. You know what I mean?
I, I,
You know in
I
your head.
hope.
Yeah.
You know, I'll definitely pray
I'm
on
gonna be like Ed. No, you're gonna do it with this breeding. You will.
I appreciate
So
it.
it's like you reach a certain confidence where I can be just like Ed and say, no, I know. Because I know what I've done over the course of the years, and I know what Samson has done, and I know what the people. The thing is that people don't see the inbox, my inbox. I've
Yeah.
seen it. I've seen through the least, like, how do you say it? I don't want to say any girl is bad, but like with from whatever grade, if you want to grade it from 1 to 10, I've seen it, and I've seen like the amazing things that he has done. So I can say it like Ed did. I know it. Congratulations. You just keep rocking with it. Take it and rock it, man. But yeah,
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's Mark and Tamara Wagner, Warriors of God's Bullies. Thank you guys so much for coming on this podcast. I'm just so grateful and humbled to have you guys come on, and the amount of value, the information you gave on this is what I want to get out there so that people can see, okay, this is what it is, and this is much more complex than how everybody makes it seem. And the hope of this is that if people hear the content and the value that you guys are bringing to the table, that if it can inspire a newer breeder, a younger breeder, to now when they get into the position, they're like, oh man, I want something off that camp. I want something off that. And now when they decide to breed, that pushes the next wave of American Bully breed forward.
Right.
And that what I am trying to do with this podcast. And I think when we're able to put the face behind the dogs and we're able to do these certain things, I firmly believe that this is something that the American Bully community, in my opinion, it needs. It's something that is very knowledgeable. It's something that provides an educational standpoint. It also gives the, like I said before, the face behind the dog breeders, but it also it helps you open your mind to, man, this is how they bred, and this is what it took, and it actually provides some context to what the lifestyle is as a breeder. And I'm just so
Right.
grateful for you guys on the platform. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we really appreciate you with the interview and you inviting us on, and being able to get a little more intimate about our story and about our breeding program, because we're, in all reality, we're kind of quiet about it, a little more subdued than we probably should be. So a lot of really nice dogs are being produced. And like you're saying, with the new breeders moving forward, just believe in what you're doing and breed to the standard, and just keep pushing forward. It's definitely not easy, and it's definitely a long path taken. It's not an overnight thing. It takes years and years and years, and a lot of hard dedication, a lot of hard work and dedication. So for anybody that listened all the way to the end, just keep pushing forward and dream on.
That's right. And lastly, and lastly, in every one of my videos, I always say I give all the praise to the Most High for giving me the opportunity to be able to just have this type of
Amen.
content.
In
So
Jesus'
I do that in
name.
every one of my videos, and I even do that on the podcast. So I'll end it by saying
Amen. I'm
I give
glad.
all the
I'm
praise to
glad.
the Most
Yeah.
High. Thank you so much, you
Amen.
guys.
Because we give the glory to God. So we really appreciate that ending. Thank you
That's
so
it.
much.
That's it. Have a
God
good
bless
one.
you
All right,
all.
you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Have a nice weekend.